Welcome knitters! Today I have another original design to share with you. It's a fun little project that is a stash buster, and it helps you use up those tiny little bits of yarn that you might think, well, what can you really knit with this much yarn? And this is all sock weight yarn, and these are all leftovers. Every knitter has them. They're just little tiny little balls of yarn that are sometimes tucked away in a shelf or a cupboard or a little bag. And today I have a pretty fun little project for you that you can make out of them. And I've titled this pattern Treasure Bags. As you can see, you can knit these cute little drawstring bags out of them, and the drawstring works really well, and you tie it up. And there's a little bit of space there for a small gift. Maybe a few pretty stones could go in here, or perhaps a little bottle of natural perfume would fit really well in there. Maybe a little bit of nail polish, or even some earrings. You can put earrings in them. The silver hooks will poke through the knitting unless it's in a Ziploc bag like this, but those can easily go in there. And you can even put candy in them. And these make a really good party favor, or a cute little Christmas ornament. You can even be hung from the branch. And they're great because they are a sustainable gift wrap, where the bag itself is another gift, and it's reusable. And it's all natural, and it doesn't harm the planet if it's made out of natural fibers. Like this one here is 100% pure Angora. So let's get started. You're going to need a measuring tape. You're going to need double pointed needles, and this is a US size 0, which is a 2mm. And just a yarn needle like this, and some scraps. Now when you're choosing your colors, you have a few options. Like this one, you could go totally solid, or like this bag here, you can do a double color. And so you can see that I used some of the brown, and I had a contrasting thread. The drawstring is actually made out of the brown, so it kind of stands out. And each treasure bag will look really different and unique. One kind of rule of thumb that's kind of fun to use is choose something dark, something light, and something bright. And that kind of makes a fun combination. But really, the sky's the limit. And sometimes I just choose something a little bit more random, and it turns out beautiful also. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our chosen color of sock weight scrap yarn, and we're going to cast on 50 stitches onto our double points. So here we go. So I've cast on 50 stitches, and I'm going to cast on one extra one. And so I have 51 stitches on here, and I'm going to get rid of that extra stitch right away. I just cast it on to help myself join my knitting in the round. And so making sure there's no twist in my knitting. What you don't want is this right here. Okay, you want the stitches that you cast on that little row to make a perfect triangle, to be on the inside of that triangle. Okay, so I'm going to join my knitting in the round, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to slip the first stitch like so. I'm going to pass the previous stitch over top of it like that. I've joined my knitting in the round, and now I'm just going to place my stitch marker and knit 3 stitches just so my marker doesn't come flying off. I've placed my marker and knit those 3 stitches, And now my marker is not going to fly off my knitting needles. I'm going to keep it right there until the end. And now I'm going to continue in my knit 3, purl 2 rib. And those are my first knit 3. So the next two are going to be purl 2 and then knit 3 and then purl 2 all the way around till I reach here again. And I'm just going to repeat that for 1 inch. Now that we've knit 1 inch from the cast on edge, we are going to simply knit a full round. So now we're breaking from the rib and we're just going to use the knit stitch, knitting every stitch all the way around. Now you may notice that I've changed colors because I ran out of this light purple and I moved on to this dark purple. And when you change colors, you don't want to tie a knot in your knitting because the knots are always pushed to the front of your work. So what I did is I left about 6 to 8 inches of the purple, the light purple that's left over, and then I just grabbed my dark purple, left the same amount, and just started knitting with it. For example, if I was going to switch colors right now, I would leave a good amount of thread here, and then I would just find another color that I like, and I would leave a loose end like that. And I would just start knitting with the new color without doing anything. And I know that will leave kind of a little bit of a gap right here, but that's very easy to fix by just pulling these tight later on when you weave in the loose ends. Okay, so that's how you change colors. All right, so I've made it all the way to the end of my row. And now it's time to do the row of holes for the drawstring. And what we're going to do is we're going to knit 2 stitches, and then we are going to yarn over and knit 2 together. So I'm going to move that stitch. I just moved that stitch over so it's easier for me to work the knit 2 together. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So here's my yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, all the way till the end. I've completed my little row of holes for the drawstring, and now I'm going to knit straight around and around until my work measures 3 inches from the cast on edge. Now we're ready to start closing our little treasure bag, and we are going to close it in the same way that you would a hat. And what we're going to do is we're going to knit 3 stitches, and then we're going to knit 2 together, like so. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. Knit 3, knit 2 together. And now we're going to knit around, knitting every stitch. Next, we're going to knit 2 stitches, knit 2 together, all the way around. Repeat that sequence. And once again, we're going to knit around, knitting every stitch. For the next decrease row, we're only going to knit one and then knit two together all the way around. And knit the next row, knitting every stitch all the way around. Finally, for our final decrease round, we're going to knit two together on every single pair of stitches all the way around. So that's all we're doing. Knit two together, followed by knit two together, and so on and so forth. And here we are at the end of the row. So now it's safe to remove the marker and slip that next stitch on like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave ourselves 6 to 10 inches of thread, and we're going to break our yarn. For our next step, we're going to take this loose end here and we're going to thread it through a tapestry needle. Like so. And we are gonna thread the tapestry needle through all of our live stitches, one at a time. And we're going to pull it gently tighter. And what I like to do to secure this is to actually pass through all of the same loops two more times, slowly tightening that circle. And I think you can feel how snug that is now. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is bring the loose end onto the wrong side of my work. And it's time to weave in all of the loose ends from my color changes. And one way that's really easy to weave in the loose ends is just to find a row of purl stitches and kind of go along the diagonal like this. And just weave in the loose ends. I'm going to weave it in for about this much of the distance. Now that our treasure bag is complete and all the loose ends are woven in, it's time to do the last step, which is to make the I-cord that will go through the eyelets. For this you will need 2 knitting needles and a contrasting color of thread. My eyelets are done in a dark purple color, and so I'm going to choose this green that I've used in the bottom for my contrasting I-cord. To work the I-cord, grab one of your straight double pointed needles and cast on 3 stitches. Next, you're going to knit all 3 of those stitches. But instead of turning your work, you're just going to slide those stitches to the other end of the needle they're on, and you're going to knit them again. And again, you're going to slide your stitches over and knit them again. And you're going to keep doing that until your I-cord measures 10 inches. Here is my 10-inch I-cord, and I've broken my yarn here, and I have a little loose end that I threaded through this knitting needle, and I'm gonna pull it through as though I'm knitting another row of the I-cord through the live stitches like this. And now I'm gonna go through the stitches twice more. And once that's done, I'm going to thread my sewing needle here through one of the loops, and I'm going to try to get it right through the core here. So I'm trying to kind of hide, I'm going to hide my loose end right into the center. And what I don't want is this to happen. I don't want big sections like that, so maybe it's best to go a few at a time. So in this way, I'm tucking my loose end right into the core inside of my I-cord. Let's see, just a couple more. And once I've gone far enough away and I'm sure that that loose end will not come undone, what I do is I just clip my loose end like that, and if you pull on it, it totally gets lost inside the strand there, and that never comes out, which is really nice. And for the next step, see, we have one loose end remaining. One of the loose ends is woven in, and the other loose end still remains. I'm going to thread the loose end, and I'm actually going to use the loose end to pull it, weave my I-cord into the treasure bag. Now, what you want to do is you want to find the section where you knit 2 stitches. So, right there it is for me. Remember when you did the eyelet row, you knit 2 and then you did yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, and so on and so forth. Well, where you knit 2 creates a little area that's slightly different, and that's where you want the knot to fall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread the I-cord through like that, and then I'm going to pull it back through the other side like so, and I'm going to continue. It's tempting to do this and go through the whole loop, but it doesn't really pull through very well that way. If it works for you, go for it, but it doesn't seem to work so well for me. Okay, and then you're just going to snake it through all of the little holes. All right, so that's threaded in like that. And now I'm going to do the same thing with this loose end, and I'm going to hide it in the chamber just like I did before. Okay, and I'm just going to clip this, pull that tight, and it's done. And this is our cute little treasure bag. And you see that the contrasting thread really pops, really shows up really well. I like to repeat the colors and use them at least twice, and that kind of ties the whole piece together. And I really like how this turned out. It's a nice eggplant purple with this spring colored green. That's really pretty. And see, those extra 2 stitches play a really important part, because when you tie this, the knot doesn't get lost. When it's like here somewhere, it kind of gets lost, but those extra 2 stitches are really important for the convenience of tying and untying it. Well, there you have it. That's how you knit a little treasure bag. For more of my patterns, find me on Etsy at Lucky Fox Knits and tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see how these turn out for you. Happy knitting, and remember, there's no wrong way to knit. If it works for you, then that's the right way.